Welcome to the Solution Nation podcast. My name is Sean Snowday, and I'm the president of Solution Nation. Solution Nation is dedicated to providing a platform for investors to learn about Israel's most dynamic public and private companies. We interview lead venture capitalists, Wall Street analysts, investment bankers, and managers of incubators and accelerators. Today's guest is Gilbert Ohana, the co-founder and managing partner at TLV Ventures. With over 26 years of technology experience overall and a 15-year track record of executive-level experience, Gilbert Ohana delivers innovative, high-risk, and complex initiatives around IT strategy and enterprise architecture, with a focus on digital transformation initiatives to achieve business goals and competitive advantages. On this podcast, listeners will learn a great deal about Israeli innovation in the insurance sector. Among the issues discussed are capital requirements, regulatory regimes, the application of AI, protecting proprietary innovations, and new lines such as homeowners associations, insurance, and cyberinsurance. Also discussed is the impact of Israeli military intelligence units on the Israeli entrepreneurial ecosystem. We will explore the early identification of the most promising candidates, mission-critical challenges pursued in elite intelligence units, and the transfer of critical technologies for commercial use. So stay tuned as Gilbert Ohana reveals some of Israel's most promising Insuretech companies. Among the companies mentioned are Hippo, Lemonade, Next Insurance, and Insurance.io. Please remember that all content provided on the Solution Nation podcast and website is for educational purposes only. Nothing shall be construed as investment advice. Investment decisions shall not be made based on information, written, verbal, or otherwise, posted or spoken on Solution Nation. Conduct your own research or consult with your own investment advisors before making investment decisions. So here's my good friend, the host of the show, and the CEO of Solution Nation, David Wanatik.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Solution Nation. I'm David Wanatik. Today, we're going to speak with Gilbert Ohana, who is a co-founder and managing partner at TLV Ventures. Gilbert Ohana has been a senior executive for 15 years. He has a track record of executive level experience and more than 26 years of technology experience overall. He delivering innovative, high risk and complex initiatives around IT strategy and enterprise architecture. Gil, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you very much for speaking to us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
So as far as TLV Ventures, talk to us about the sectors you invest in, the stage of development of the companies you invest in.
Sure. So TLV Ventures is a global venture capital fund. We are focused around Insuretech, insurance technologies. And as a global fund, we invest globally, of course, and we invested already in Israel, Europe, and the US in companies like Hippo Insurance, Corvus Insurance, WeFox. So as a fund, we are doing all stages of investments, although maybe now more focused on late stage companies, but we also invested in early stage companies. And we are interested in all companies relevant to Insuretech and that have technology and service that can bring value and disruption to this market.
Okay. And what are the check sizes? I imagine it varies which round you're investing in, but maybe give us a little insight into that.
Sure. So for early stage investments, it could be between 1 and 2 million for first investments, and it can go up till 10 million for late stage companies. But we have the ability also to lead rounds in greater capacity with our LPs in the fund. So we've done this before, and it could be rounds even like $100 million. It's been done by my partner, and that's our expertise and capability, because we are connected to many insurance companies globally, and many of our LPs in the fund are insurance companies that also look for interesting investments.
Right. I would imagine that investing in a new insurance company might be a little bit different than investing in many other early stage companies because you need so much capital. Insurance companies need significant capital unless it's just a pure technology play.
Absolutely, you are absolutely right. Different insurtech companies have different needs, from being like a broker or a full-fledged full stack tool, right? You need the capacity for it. Or you can be, like you said, a tech provider that provides technology to insurance companies. And we look on all companies in this value chain of insurance. We are interested in companies that have technology that can disrupt certain elements of insurance market, like the risk assessment.
Okay. So we didn't hear part of the last answer. I think was cut off. Can you say the last two sentences again?
Yeah, sure. So I said that as a fund, we're interested in all technologies that can bring value to the value chain of insurance. So it could be technology providers that can assess the risk better or handle the claim better. And we are, of course, interested in companies that build themselves as an insurance company, as a full stack company. And of course, different companies in that value chain have different needs in capacity. That's why we are also working with reinsurance companies in our network that can provide a capacity for these new age insurance companies.
Okay. So the insurance industry has had a reputation of being very, very conservative and not really adapting to change very well. Is that changing because more technology is going into the insurance industry, and do the insurers have no choice but to adapt? Otherwise, they'll be left behind, or is it still very conservative and a long sales cycle?
I say yes, because the overall landscape in market is becoming more competitive. These new insurance companies like Hippo and like Next Insurance and like Lemonade are creating the dynamics for other incumbent companies to innovate, right? And they need to innovate in order to maintain their market share or even increase their market share. So I think that, most innovations is coming from the sense of urgency. And I think that in a small way, this sense of urgency is being created in the market within the last few years, as more and more technologies become more and more mature to use, and companies use it, create new services, create new products. The sentiment of the customers is also changing, as they seeing that in other sectors like the banks, the banking sector, or other e-commerce sectors. They want to have these new products. They want to be digital. They want to have products that are more competitive in price. So the overall market is becoming more competitive, I think, and that forces, the incumbents also to invest in innovation and new technologies.
Okay. I would imagine it's a little bit harder for Insuretech companies to scale very rapidly, especially if they approach the U.S. market, because insurance is regulated on a state-by-state basis. And so they have to apply to all the different insurance regulators to get permission to offer their products. Just a fact of business, I guess, in insurance. Yeah,
that's the challenge, because yes, insurance is a very complicated business. It's not only, tech. You need to understand the regulations. You need to understand the financial aspects, and you need to be a part of a global system, right? Because you need the reinsurance, and you need the regulators, and you need the distributors that will provide the access to your products. So it's a very challenging business, and scaling that business is most challenging thing to do, especially like you said in the US, where different countries have different regulations and you need to apply for the right license within each one of them. But that's the opportunity eventually, right? So when you have the ability to enter these new markets and the countries, and you can provide your value, and so the market is huge and the opportunity is big.
So what are some innovations that Israeli Insuretech companies are bringing to the market?
So I would say that, first of all, Israel has a lot of expertise in deep technologies, right? So technologies like big data and artificial intelligence and image processing, these technologies were always the strength of Israeli high tech, right? So the ability to bring these new technologies to a business that was not so much, in those technologies, right? And to provide value using data and AI and these new kind of big data technologies to the insurance market is a huge opportunity. So that could be in risk assessment, right? You need to collect a lot of data, run a lot of AI models to provide the very accurate risk modeling. And anyone who can do risk modeling better is in a great position to be a better insurance company in terms of the profits. So that would be one aspect. That could be around image processing, also claims management. A lot of these elements can use now this deep technology to increase the efficiency and accuracy of their operation. Claims management is, like I said, a great part of that. If we can automate those processes of claims management using AI, using other kinds of technologies, that is also a great value to insurance. Another aspect, I would say that certain expertise also that the Israeli ecosystem has, can now find its way to insurance market or other markets. Right, so cyber, for example, many entrepreneurs who has the expertise from their service in the Israeli Defense Forces are now taking that expertise into cyber insurance and into other kind of business sectors. Agri-tech and food tech is also blooming in Israel. So I think that the thing that identifies Israel is the ability to take expertise from certain sectors into new sectors, and that creates great opportunities.
So I know a little bit about Hippo. So this is just what my understanding is. You can correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe someday we'll have Asaf Wand speak to us. But as an example of the innovation in Israeli insurance, a couple interesting things I believe Hippo is doing. Number one is the contracts that typically we see in insurance are very, very old. They use language that existed maybe 100 years ago. They maybe talk about insuring China cabinets, and nobody knows what that is. Or, instead of a home entertainment system or a stereo or a computer, they talk about, China or something like this. And so just updating the contracts with the current language and the current technologies we have in our homes is a bit of an innovation. I believe that they are connecting to the home burglary system and, fire prevention and that kind of thing. So it's very integrated. And as far as like new lines of service, I believe that Hippo is offering a product to the HOAs, the home ownership associations, and with the contractors. So when you buy a newly constructed house, the insurance is already bundled in. So the process of buying that policy might just be a couple minutes sending an addendum. Those are what I believe I heard Asaf Wand say. don't anybody take this as gospel and invest on this. But if you want to comment on any of that, feel free to do so.
Yeah, I would say that, as you mentioned, the insurance sector is very old-fashioned one, right? It's very difficult to change the mindset and eventually the processes of the incumbents companies. It relates to the policy wording, and it relates to their other kind of policies, and it relates to the risk they are willing to take, and the way they work with customers, and the way they work with brokers. It's all based on policies and their DNA set like many years ago, like centuries, right, of years ago. And it's very challenging to change that mindset. And I think that Hippo is trying to build its capabilities in a different way and be engaged with the customer constantly. And not only, when you have the insurance event and you need to file a claim. They want to help you maintain your house, maintain your assets. They want to help you protect your assets, and they will provide you with the right IoT devices and the annual yearly check for your air conditioning built into the policy, right? Built into the service, in order for you to stay, in a maintained house. It's good for their business, right? I won't say it's not. It's good for the business, but eventually it creates a different kind of relationship between Hippo as a new insurance company and the customer. And I think that can also be, that concept can also be implemented in other kind of aspects, and changing the way, the insurance company is engaging with the customers all around the value chain, from, buying the policy through the service and the regular aspect of the term that you have the policy, and when you have a claim, and when you do the renewal. We need to change all these aspects, and I think that this is the vision, basically, that Asaf wants for Hippo.
Have there been any acquisitions of Israeli insurance companies or insurance tech companies by large Western insurance companies?
Trying to think, the Israeli Insuretech. So the Israeli Insuretech has two main aspects. One, it has maybe the most famous new insurance companies, right? So Lemonade and Hippo Insurance and Next Insurance are all Israeli, or quite Israeli related. Quite a disruption to the insurance market, and they are obviously not looking, I guess, to be acquired, but to grow the company and eventually become public. And other companies are more of a tech companies that provide different values in the value chain, like the claims automation and the fraud detection, a lot of technologies around fraud detection, or data analytics, right? A lot of companies around data analytics that are quite critical for the insurance sector. So specifically around Insuretech, not recall any recent acquisitions, because the Israeli Insuretech, although developing very fast, is still quite in its early stages. But cross-vertical companies get acquired, all the time, like cyber companies and data analytics, cross-vertical data analytic companies and other AI companies are getting acquired all the time by the big technology companies like Microsoft and Amazon and Google, of course, and others. So, the acquisitions dynamics Israel is quite vivid.
Okay. So you mentioned cyber insurance. I would imagine that covers when a company experiences breaches and viruses and that type of thing. Is cyber insurance something that the large Israeli companies like Hippo, Lemonade, do they offer that, or?
No, at the moment, I think not.
Okay.
There is, so cyber insurance, first of all, can address the business side, right? Cyber insurance for businesses and all kinds of businesses from small, medium to large businesses. But it can also be applied to personal cyber insurance, right? And we see that in the market more and more, that personal people may be attacked in a cyber ransomware or other kind of breaches in their home, invading their privacy, maybe stealing data if you have important sensitive data, and that is done through many connected devices that you have in your house, right? Like connected cameras and even smart locks and others. And I think that we are seeing insurance companies that provide home insurance and homeowners insurance that wants to bundle private cyber insurance, personal cyber insurance policy into that product. One company I can say, for example, an Israeli company, Insurance.io, that provides personal cyber insurance that can be bundled with certain home insurance policy. And that I think will also increase as a trend.
Do the companies that implement cybersecurity software, they don't have to be Israeli companies, but just for example, SentinelOne or Checkpoint, or American or European companies that do similar things, do they offer any kind of insurance policies or warranties on their work? Or would that be an embarrassment for them to say, you need insurance after you just spent $5 million on this implementation?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that most of them don't, I'm not sure about the details, but most of them, the cyber insurance technology providers, will not offer insurance or warranty, but they do have partnerships with insurance companies that if you use their technologies, you can get a discount or other kind of services bundled into the policy. So that is happening in the market, and there are policies that if you are using this kind of data protection and data security elements of these certified companies, and you can, prove that you also stand to the requirements of these companies, you get a discount and maybe other services. So that is coming from the other way.
Just on the issue of cybersecurity companies, it seems to be very difficult for an investor to be able to differentiate one cybersecurity company from another because they don't disclose their proprietary code or technologies. So all these companies sound great. Any advice you have for how investors can differentiate one from another?
Yeah, it's a good question and a difficult challenge, because you're right. So many companies are, especially cyber companies, a lot of cyber companies also in Israel, of course, are, let's say, sitting on the same space, right, of the cyber challenge with different kinds of maybe functionalities. And it's difficult. I'm not sure I have a good advice. Just, these investors need to have the right consultants that can maybe differentiate the products in terms of what functionalities they provide and what aspects do they have, right? So one product can have a different approach from another product. So many products, for example, in the cloud security are now booming, right? And it's a big space. Many companies are trying to get a bite of this space. Many companies have certain functionalities that are similar to other companies. It's difficult to differentiate, and you need to have an expert. You need to be an expert or to have an expert that can, differentiate very clearly the products from one another. And it's not always, as I said, it's not always on the functionality, because many products can be successful just by other functionalities like the management, the ease of use and deployment, and you need to look at the overall functionalities the product have.
Yeah, and you never know where the next attack is coming from. So one software could be very good up until now, but you never know the next one. So yeah, you made a good point. You have to rely on experts, or sometimes organizations like Gartner do surveys and rank different products. So that's good. Okay, so you also wanted to talk about the role of Israel's military intelligence units and how the people coming out of those very high-level military intelligence units contribute to the Israeli entrepreneurial ecosystem. So why don't you take that question?
Right. So so the basic sources of innovation, in the Israeli high tech rely on the Israeli defense forces and other defense industries in Israel. But I think the Israel Defense Forces and some technology units in the IDF, especially in the intelligence core, have a great donation and great, not donation, but a great support and value to the overall Israeli ecosystem, because many of the veterans of the unit, maybe even in their early years, right? So you can be a veteran of the unit after 5, 6, 7 years of service at the age of 23, 25, and with an experience and expertise that have no other equivalent worldwide, right? So you can be like a cyber expert or a machine learning expert at the age of 25 after dealing with the great challenges that the unit has. But it's not only on the expertise, the specific expertise that the unit provides, it's also on the values that the service in such units provide. Facing challenges and not afraid to fail and trying again until you succeed, and working in teams and wanting to reach the achievement. So all these values, there is no other place that can provide you all these values with the technology expertise all together and set you, to establish a new company at the age of 25. So the service in that units have a great value and support to the Israeli ecosystem. And the nice thing is that, back like 5-7 years ago, many of those veterans established their cybersecurity company, right? That is one reason why the cybersecurity ecosystem was so advanced in Israel. But today, we see those veterans take their expertise into other kinds of sectors like mobility and health and digital health, like agri-tech and food tech. And that's, I think, is the great, is a huge value. And we'll see entrepreneurs who gain those values of achievement and wanting to succeed and build their company in different kinds of sectors. And Israel will flourish in these new sectors, as it's already is doing, like in food tech and agri-tech. That's it.
So does the Israeli army or the intelligence units of the Israeli army, do they recruit and bring in kids that are younger than 17 and 18 for like summer camps or, special after school programs? So they start training them even younger?
Yeah, in a way, they not recruit them at the age of 16, 17, but the Israeli Defense Forces and intelligence units, for example, are in collaboration with high schools provide certain courses and educational activities in high schools, right? And this kind of activity has two, of course, aspects. One, you contribute to the education of these young people, right? And you can locate the excellent and bright people that you want to eventually bring to the unit. So your question is very good. They not recruit before 18, but they do take a very deep place in the education system in Israel in high-tech studies.
Okay. And then can you talk a little bit about the ability to transfer technology out of these military intelligence units? So, of course, just by nature, this is very proprietary knowledge that I would imagine the state of Israel doesn't want to be too generous in diffusing. So how does it work? You have to get clearance for taking out the technology, or does the Israeli government get a royalty on what comes out of the intelligence units?
So these are both good questions and difficult questions. I think, in terms of regarding the fusion of technologies from the military to the civilian industry, the Army and the Ministry of Defense invested time in thinking about it, right? And the implication of such things. Of course, today it's more and more difficult to prohibit that from happening, right? You gain expertise on the technology itself, not on the implementation of technology, right? But on the technology itself, and you go to the civilian industry and you can replicate things that you've done in the Army. So it's a challenge. And I think that the Ministry of Defense has a certain kind of balance to understand when, it's a good thing because you contribute to the Israeli high-tech ecosystem, and when it's, it's a secret that you want to keep. And there is a balance of that. And of course, there are entities in the Ministry of Defense that eventually, when you want to sell technology to certain countries, especially around sensitive sectors like cybersecurity, you need to get clearance, you need to provide the right information. Regarding royalties, I think the Ministry of Defense and the government of Israel, it's not their, goal, right? So their goal is to support the ecosystem, to support the high-tech companies, so they will be successful in their business. So that fusion has two-sided, and we try, I guess the Ministry of Defense and the Israeli government try to maintain the right balance between that.
Okay. And just going back to the Insuretech companies, we were talking about some of the innovative things companies like Hippo were doing. How can those companies protect their innovations? Is it just trade secret? Is it just a matter of being the first mover and executing well and fast? So if I'm not sure if Hippo was the first company to go to the HOAs, the home ownership associations, but if it was, how is there any way to protect that? I don't think patents can do it. I don't think trade secrets can do it.
Yeah, so I would say all of the above. Right? In order to build a successful world-leading insurance company, you need to have today great technology, the great ability to use data as a core competence of the company. And I think that Hippo is one of the greatest, also Next Insurance, both our portfolio companies of TLV have great ability to use many different kinds of data sources in all stages of the product lifecycle, right? And that ability is very, very hard to replicate. eventually, you see the pricing of a policy, right? But behind that pricing, there are tons of AI modeling and data modeling. And your ability to maintain those algorithms and models in a very accurate way, in a very efficient results is difficult to replicate. But eventually, you also need to have a great business, and you need to have great partnerships with distribution partners and other kind of ecosystem players, and good ecosystem built around your services in order for you to be successful. So it's the two parts. I don't think you can succeed with only one of the two, right?
I suppose another barrier to entry is the regulatory environment. You can't just start offering insurance. So you have to get regulatory approval. Is Next a public company?
No, not yet.
Okay. Okay, I think we covered a lot. Do you have any final comments you'd like to make?
No, just that thank you for the time, and it was great speaking with you.
Okay, well, great. So I'd like to thank Gilbert Ohana for speaking to us. Mr. Ohana is the co-founder and managing partner at TLV Ventures. It was great having you with us. We really appreciate your time and your sharing all of your knowledge with us.
Thank you.